positive. Give me 1 minute. I'm reading the Buddhacharita. There's no digital copy, so I have to read from the physical book. Canto 16. Translation is in English and 95 verses long, so about half an hour reading. Okay. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna try to have fun with this whole thing. Check 1, 2, 3. Canto 16. Many conversions. Then the Omniscient established in the law of salvation Ashivajita and the other mendicants who had become well disposed in mind. He appeared surrounded by that group of 5, who had subdued a group of 5, like the moon in the sky, conjoined with the 5 stars of the asterism, whose region is the sun. Now, at that time, a noble son named Yachas saw certain women carelessly asleep, and thereby became perturbed in mind. Uttering the words, "How wretched all this is," he went just as he was, retaining all the glory of his magnificent ornaments, to where the Buddha was. The Tathagata, who knew men's dispositions and sins, on seeing him said, "There is no fixed time for nirvana. Come hither and obtain the state of blessedness." Hearing these far-famed words, he came, like one entering a river, one afflicted with heat, to extreme contentment of mind. Then, by reason of the force of the previous cause, but with his body as it was, he realized hardship with body and mind. As the dye is absorbed by a cloth which has been bleached with salted water, so he, whose mind was white, fully understood the good law as soon as he heard of it. The best of speakers, he who had fulfilled his task and knew the good goal, saw him standing there, ashamed of his clothes, and said, verse 10 now. The mendicant's badges are not the cause of the law. He who looks with equal mind on all beings, and has restrained his senses by quietude and the rule, though he wears ornaments, yet walks in the law. He who leaves his home with his body, but not with his mind, and who is still subject to passion, is to be known as a householder, though he live in the forest. He who goes forth with his mind, but not with his body, and who is selfless, is to be known as a forest dweller, though he abide in his home, He is said to be emancipated who has reached this attainment, whether he abide in his home or whether he has become a wandering mendicant. Just as one who would conquer puts on his armor to overcome a hostile army, a man wears the badges to overcome the hostile army of the sins. Then the Tathagata said to him, "Come hither, mendicant." And at these words he appeared wearing the mendicant's badges. Then out of attachment to him, his friends, to the number of 50 and 3 and 1, gained the law. As garments covered with potash quickly become clean on contact with water, so they quickly became pure, in virtue of their acts having been purified in former ages. Then at that time 60 in all was the first company of the disciples, who were also arhats, and the arhat, fittingly revered by the arhats, spoke to them as follows: "O mendicants, you have passed beyond suffering and fulfilled your great task. It is proper now to help others who are still suffering. Therefore do all of you, each by himself, traverse this earth and impart the law to mankind out of compassion for their affliction. I, for my part, am proceeding to Gaya, the abode of royal seers, in order to convert the Gashapa seers, who through their attainments are possessed of supernatural powers." Then they who had seen the real truth departed on his orders in all directions, while the great seer, the Blessed One, was free from the pairs went to Gaya. Then in due course he arrived there, and approaching the forest of the law, saw Gashapa abiding there like asceticism in person. Although there were dwellings in the mountains and the groves, the Lord of the 10 powers, desirous of converting him, asked him for a lodging. Okay, so 25, 26 is missing. 27. Then in order to destroy the saint, in his evil disposition, he gave him a firehouse by a great snake. Also missing. No, starting 28. Okay. At night, the snake, whose gaze was poisonous, saw the great sage calm and fearless, there looking at him, and in his fury he hissed at him. The firehouse was set alight by his wrath, but the fire, as if afraid, did not touch the great seer's body. Just as at the end of the great Aeon, Brahma shines, sitting when the conflagration dies down, so Gautama remained unperturbed, though the firehouse was all blazing. On the Buddha sitting there, unharmed and moveless, the snake was filled with wonderment, and did obeisance to the best of seers. The folk in the deer park thought of the seer sitting there, and deeply distressed were overcome with pity that such a mendicant should have been burnt. On the night passing away, the teacher took verse 33 now. On the night passing away, the teacher took up the snake quietly in his alms bowl and showed it to Gashapa. On perceiving the might of the Buddha, he was amazed, yet he still believed himself to have no superior in power. Then, as he knew those thoughts of his, verse 35. Then, as he knew those thoughts of his, the tranquil sage purified his heart by assuming various shapes suited to the occasion. Thereon, as he deemed the Buddha to be greater than him in magic power, he determined to win his law. The company of Aurobirulan, Ganeshapa's 500 followers, seeing his sudden change of heart, adhered also to the law. When their brother and his pupils had passed to the further shore, and cast aside their bark garments, the two who were called Gaya and Nadi arrived there and betook themselves to the path. On the Gayashiyeshwar mountain, the sage then preached the sermon of salvation to the three Ganeshapa brothers with their followers. The entire world is helplessly burnt up by the fire of love and hate, which is overspread with the smoke of delusion and originates in the thoughts. Thus scorched by the fire of the sins, without peaceful leadership, it is unceasingly consumed again and again by the fires of old age, disease, and death. On seeing this world without refuge and burnt up by manifold fires, the wise man is perturbed over his body with its accompaniment of mind and sense organs. From perturbation he proceeds to passionlessness, and from that to liberation. Thereon, being liberated, he knows that he is liberated in all respects. Having fully examined the stream of birth, he takes his stand on the ascetic life. Verse 44 now. Having fully examined the stream of birth, he takes his stand on the ascetic life and completes his task. For him there is no further existence. When the 1,000 mendicants heard this sermon of the Holy One, by reason of non-appropriation, their minds were immediately released from the infections. Then the Buddha appeared with the three Ganeshapas, whose wisdom was great, like the law incarnate, surrounded by charity, discipline, and the rule. The penance grove, deprived of those excellent disputants, was no longer brilliant, like the life of a sick man who is without religion, wealth, or pleasure. Then, remembering his former promise to the Magadhan king, the sage, surrounded by all of them, took his way to Rajagruha. Then, when the king heard of the Tathagata's arrival at the domain of the Venuvana, he went to visit him, with his ministers in attendance on him. Then the common folk, with their eyes opened wide in wonderment, came out along the mountain road, on foot or in vehicles. Verse 50. I'm gonna take a little break pretty soon. Then the common folk, with their eyes opened wide in wonderment, came out along the mountain road, on foot or in vehicles, according to their station in life. On seeing the excellent sage from afar, the Magadha sovereign hastily alighted from his chariot in order to show him reverence. The king left behind him his yak's tails, his fans, and his retinue, and approached the sage as Inindra approached Brahma. He did obeisance to the great seer with his head so that his headdress shook, and with his permission sat down on the ground on the soft grass. The thought occurred to the people there, "O the might of the Shakya sage! Has the seer, His Holiness Ganeshapa, become his pupil?" Then the Buddha, knowing their minds, said to Ganeshapan, Gachapa, what was the quality you saw that you abandoned fire worship? When the Guru thus incited him with a voice like that of a mighty rain cloud, he folded his hands and said aloud in the crowded assembly. Okay, I'm at verse 57. I just finished 56. 50% done. I'm halfway done. I'm gonna take a 1-minute break and then continue finishing it. And that took about 15 minutes so far. Half of it took 15 minutes, so the other half should take about 15 to maybe a little longer, because you get more tired the more you do this. So maybe 20 minutes left. That's good timing. A session should be around 48 minutes, I think. 2 muhurtas. 1 muhurta is 24 minutes. A long session should be about 3 or 4 muhurtas. 4 muhurtas will be 96 minutes, 1 hour and 30 minutes. Sounds about right. One hour and 50 minutes. Yeah, no more than 1 hour and 50 minutes. The longest session on my channel should not be longer than 2 hours, and that's how I like it. Turns out that 1 hour and 50 minutes is 5 muhurtas. That's 1 hour and 50 minutes. Okay, so starting at verse 57, give me another 30 seconds. 30 seconds. This is fun, The next time I'll read Buddhacharita is like 9 weeks from now. About 2 months from now. Here we go. 57. And this is Gachapa speaking. I have given up the fires because the fruit of worshipping them and of making oblations in them is continuance in the when I read that again, sorry. I have given up the fires because the fruit of worshipping them and of making oblations in them is continuance in the cycle of existence and association with the various mental ills. I have given up the fires because by muttering prayers, offering oblations, and the like out of thirst for the objects of sense, the thirst for them merely grows stronger. I have given up the fires because by muttering prayers, offering oblations, and the like out of thirst for the object sorry, I read that before. Verse 59. I have given up the fires because by muttered prayers and I have given up the fires because by muttered prayers and fire oblations there is no cessation from birth, and because the suffering of birth is great. I have given up the fires because the belief that the supreme good comes from rites of worship and from austerities is false. I have given up the fires because, as I affirm, I know the blissful immutable stage, which is delivered from birth and death. On hearing the converted Gachapa thus speak words, so productive of faith and so full of matter, the master of the rule said to him, Hail to you, most noble one. This is most certainly the good work that you have done, in that among the various laws you have attained that which is the best. Just stir up then the hearts of the assembly by displaying your various magic powers, as one who has great possessions displays his various treasures. Then Gashapa said, "Very well," and contracting himself into himself, he flew up like a bird into the path of the wind. This master of the miraculous powers stood in the sky as on a tree stump, walked about as on the ground, sat down as on a couch, and then lay down. Now he blazed like a fire. Now he shed water like a cloud. Now he blazed and poured forth water simultaneously. As he took great strides, blazing and shedding water, he appeared like a cloud pouring forth rain and brilliant with flashes of lightning. The people looked up at him in amazement, with their eyes glued to him, and, as they did obeisance to him in reverence, they uttered lion roars. Then, bringing his magic display to a close, he did obeisance to the sage with his head and said, "I am the pupil who has done his task. My master is the Holy One." The inhabitants of Magadha, seeing Gashapa do obeisance to the great seer in this fashion, concluded that it was the Blessed One who was omniscient. Then he, who abode in the Supreme Good, knew that the soil was prepared, and for his welfare said to Shirenuya, who was desirous of hearing the law, "O Lord of the earth, O thou who art possessed of great majesty, and hast the control of the senses, form is born and decays accompanied by the mind and the senses. Their birth and passing away should be known for the furtherance. Their birth and passing away should be known for the furtherance of virtue, and, by knowing these two matters correctly, come to a right understanding of the body." Okay. Verse 75. 95 is the last one. 21 shlokas left. 21 verses left. There's no Sanskrit. Or if there were, it was destroyed 2,000 years ago or so. Okay, so 21 verses left, home stretch, 10 minutes reading. Yeah, this is fun. So it looks like it might rain, so I'm gonna play it safe and not go out skateboarding today. Okay, here we go. Verse 75. I'm finishing up. 21 verses left. By knowing the body with the senses to be subject to birth and passing away, there is no appropriation at all, no coming to the idea that it is I or mine. My turn. The body and the senses have no objectivity outside the mental conceptions. They are born as suffering they pass away. When all this is understood to be neither I nor mine, then the supreme unchangeable nirvana is reached. Through the sins of assuming the existence of the ego and the like, men are bound in the false conception of self, and when they see that there is no self, they are released from the passions. The false view binds, the right view releases. This world, abiding in the thought that, the false view binds, the right view releases. This world, abiding in the thought that there is a self, does not grasp the truth. If a self did exist, it would be either permanent or impermanent. Great defects follow from either alternative. Just suppose it to be impermanent. Then there will be no fruit of the sorry, I'm reading verse 81. Just suppose it to be impermanent. Then there would be no fruit of the act. And since there would be no rebirth, salvation would come without effort on our part. Or if it were permanent and all-pervading, there would be neither birth nor death. For space, which is all-pervading and permanent, neither passes away nor is born. If this self were all-pervading in nature, there would be no place where it is not. And when it passed away, there would simultaneously be salvation for everyone together. As being all-pervading by nature, it would be inactive, and there would be no doing. I'm gonna read it. 84, verse 84. 12 left. As being all-pervading by nature, it would be inactive, and there would be no doing of the act. And without the doing of acts, how could there be the union with the fruit of them? If the self did perform deeds, it will cause no suffering to itself. For who, that is, his own master, would cause suffering to himself? The theory of a permanent self leads to the conclusion that it undergoes no change. But since it experiences pleasure and suffering, we see that it does not. I'm gonna read it again. 86. 10 verses left. So now I'm starting to get a little tired. The theory of a permanent self leads to the conclusion that it undergoes no change. But since it experiences pleasure and suffering, we see that it does incur change. Salvation. My iPhone just picked up whatever I just said. Verse 87. Salvation comes from the winning of knowledge and the abandonment of sin. And since the self is inactive and all-pervading, there would be no salvation for it. One should not say this, namely that there is a self, since in reality it has no existence. Moreover, as having no causal efficiency, it is incapable of any action. Since then, it is not clear what is the work to be done, nor by whom it is. Verse 89. Almost done. Since then, it is not clear what is the work to be done, nor by whom it is done. Sorry. 89 again. Since then, it is not clear what is the work to be done, nor by whom it is done. The self cannot be said to exist in such wise, and therefore it has no existence. Listen, best of listeners, to this teaching how the stream of the cycle of existence flows along, bearing away this body, in which there is neither one who acts nor one who experiences. 90 again, verse 90. 6 left, 6 verses. Listen, best of listeners, to this teaching how the stream of the cycle of existence flows along, bearing away this body, in which there is neither one who acts, nor one who experiences sensations, nor one who directs. A sixfold consciousness arises based on the 6 organs of sense and their 6 objects. A system of contact develops separately for each group of 3, once awareness, volitions, and actions come into activity. I'm going to read it again. So this is verse 91, Canto 16. A sixfold consciousness arises based on the 6 organs of sense and their 6 objects. A system of contact develops separately for each group of 3, once awareness, volitions, and actions come into activity. Just as, from the conjunction of a burning glass jewel, fuel, and the sun, fire is produced. I'll read it. Verse 92. A little tired, I guess. 92 once again. Just as, from the conjunction of a burning glass jewel, fuel, and the sun, fire is produced by virtue of the union, even so, all actions dependent on the individual take place, based on the consciousness, the objects of sense, and the senses. Just as the shoot is produced from the seed, and yet the shoot is not to be identified with the seed, nor can either of them exist without the other. On such wise is the body and the interaction of the senses and the consciousness. When the Magadha king heard the sermon of the best of sages, announcing the highest goal, the supreme beatitude, then the eye of the law grew in him, the eye that is without stain, without equal, and devoid of passion. Many men who dwelt in the capital of Magadha, and the inhabitants of heaven, became pure in mind in that assembly on hearing the sages preaching, and went to the stage where death and change are not. Okay, I'm done, thank you. 33 minutes. Namaste. So that's it for me. Wednesday's my, I guess, hump day, So it's my half Sabbath day, if you will. Thank you. Have a good day. Namaste.